This morning I started doing the measurements for the cast, and the reason we do this is so that we know how big to make all of the costumes and have an idea of what will fit without having to have the cast in all of the time. So to prepare for the measurements, I made a sheet with just all of the measurements that I'd need to take. So I did head, chest, waist, hips, hip to foot, and height, and I wrote that on a sheet of paper, and I sectioned it out, and I put all of their names and all of the characters they were playing, so that when I was doing it, I had the list and I could just call them up one by one, to rather than just it being hectic and having people coming and going all the time. I had my list and I called them out, and they knew fairly where they were on the list, so they could come. And so I also had some people helping me. I had Emma, our DSM. She would write the measurements down, and I would measure the actor. And so once I had done that, there wasn't everybody who needed their measurements taken there, so I made a note of all the people who weren't there so that I could take them at a later date, which is and then I in the afternoon I finished off doing Dorothy's blouse, the ones where I was making them longer. On the second one I finished adding Velcro to close it, and I decided Velcro was the best way to go because it was the same as the other one, and it was the same as the top part that had already been done, so it was just more consistent that way, and it worked well enough. I also looked at Dorothy's pinafore, and some bits where it was falling off I just sewed it down a bit firmer. There might be some more things that need to happen with that, but I'd rather have a fitting with Dorothy trying it on first before I go any further with repairing it or changing it. And the other thing I did was starting to look at the material that we've got for the Tin Man, which is like a leatherette silver matte kind of fabric. So I had a scrap piece that I tested out in the machine to see how it worked and just get a feel for it. So the thing I found was I really had to push it through because the machine struggled to push it along, so I had to physically do that. And also putting the stitches on the wider setting made it easier because they came out quite small anyway if I wasn't pushing it through. I just found having it on the reverse side was easier to get through. It didn't stick to the machine as much, which made it easier to glide through and finish the seam. I also tried putting two of them together and seeing if it could manage the thickness of that material. I tested out how it could hold its shape, so I tried putting a round part on to see if I could maybe something I could utilise with the rest of the costume, making it kind of stick up and giving it more of more roundness, more shape, in case that is something that I decide to use. I'm not sure if I will yet. And I also tested out putting a split pin in it to see if that looked good as a bolt. And they're all gold, but I could paint them silver, so I'm gonna think about that as well.